Welcome to Inspired Living with Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector. Every Wednesday, Marc, along with his special guests, will explore thought-provoking topics and ideas that promote creativity, self-help, healing, happiness, and well-being to inspire you on your spiritual journey. Each week, Marc will discuss different paths to achieving a more spiritual, balanced, happy, and healthy lifestyle. Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual. Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. Marc is a tested, certified, and professional spiritual medium, metaphysical teacher, healer, and spiritual advisor with a spiritual practice based in Seattle, Washington. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you may be in this magical, magnanimous, magnificent, majestic, marvelous, metaphysical, miraculous, mind-awakening, mind-blogging, mind-blowing planet of ours. This is Inspired Living Radio. I am your host, Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, and today we are going to go beyond our planet and have a very deep conversation based on technology, based on science, based on philosophy, based on conspiracy, to understand if we truly are alone in the universe, or as if you are a fan of the Star Trek TV series and many movies that have come out, to boldly go where no one has gone before. So welcome to the show, another episode. I love doing these episodes because it gives us a chance to go prospecting. As the Intuitive Prospector, I'm always asking, questions of everything. Life is short, so question everything. And the first question I'm going to pose to you as we open this show is, it's kind of mind-boggling, somewhat unbelievable, but we really only have three ways this universe came into our existence or awareness. And the universe either created itself, or something created it, or it's always been. Out of those three options, they're all unbelievable and mind-blowing. So we're going to explore in this episode if we're alone in the universe, and we're going to talk about a few different scientific concepts, a few philosophy concepts, some history, including the famous Drake equation based off mathematics, the Dyson Spheres, which we'll talk about from what we're currently going through in the James Webb Telescope, and of course our search for Earth 2.0. So I'm happy to be joining you for yet another soul adventure, an inspiring episode to explore, discuss, and discover the many diamonds within each and every one of us, and the many giant gems that are in our world that have yet to be revealed. So get comfortable, grab your favorite drink, kick back, sit back, or lie back, taking a nice, deep, healing, peaceful, and cleansing breath, and let us prospect and learn together as we explore this topic on today's show, and the journey and the many pathways of life to dream, discover, explore, and experience through all of our elements of the mind, the body, and the spirit, for another inspiring, uplifting, and educational episode. As always, I always want to give a big shout out and say thank you to all of our inspired listeners from around the globe, the universe, and beyond. My team and I here at Inspired Living Radio are so very humbled and grateful for you, for listening, for downloading, for subscribing, leaving reviews, and voting to make Inspired Living Radio and Podcast a best inspirational show and a best spiritual show to follow and listen to as referenced and sourced by FeedSpot. So we really appreciate it. We really appreciate you, and thank you so much. If you've not yet subscribed, liked, or followed the show, there's always time to do so over on our main social media platforms. Over on Facebook, just look for the community page Inspired Living Radio and Podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter. Just look for the name Inspired For Us. That is the number 4, Inspired For Us. And of course, all of our shows, the last 8+ seasons, over on our YouTube channel, Inspired Living Radio. And you can now find us streaming through Audible, or just ask Alexa to open up Inspired Living Podcast, which will play this latest episode. So as I always like to say, a new day, a new opportunity, a day we have not seen before to use our intuition to prospect this wonderful world around us. Are we ready to go prospecting? I know that I am. So we've got a lot to get through, and I first want to talk about a gentleman who's local here from the University of Washington in the astrology department. His name is Woodruff Sullivan. And as I'm putting this show together, I've been doing a lot of research on these topics, and his quote came up, and I found it very, very inspiring, very interesting. He said this, quote, "Rather than asking how many civilizations may exist now, we ask, are we the only technological species that has ever arisen?" End quote. And that's from the Professor Woodruff Sullivan from the University of Washington Astrology Department. So I'm here in Seattle, so that's my alumni. I'm always, researching universities and peer review topics on science and technology. And I just found that quote to be very, very interesting. Are we really the only technological species that has ever arisen? And when you start to break down how large the universe is, it's a very big place out there, and it seems like a very big waste of real estate if we are the only species in a mathematical formula that's almost incomprehensible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down into a few sections so you can put it into layman's terms, stuff that I've studied to try to understand myself, and I can share that with you so you can have a better perspective of our universe and if we are truly alone in the universe, which if you followed my work, if you follow this show, I've been saying before our roaring 20s, before we kicked into our roaring 20s, I said that we would learn during the decade of our roaring 20s of transformation that we are not alone in the universe, that there is other intelligent life out there. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to be able to get to them and they're not going to be able to get to us, but as soon as the James Webb telescope went out 1 million miles into orbit to start searching the universe, that means we're going to start seeing stuff. You can just apply that to just our modern technology down here on this planet. The telescope, the microscope, all debatable before those two tools came into our reality. And we know that the telescope, for those that were looking up at the stars, were persecuted very, very heavily for their beliefs and, saying that the Earth goes around the sun, not that the sun goes around the Earth, right? And the microscope, people for hundreds of years debated if you couldn't see it with the physical eye, then it did not exist. We know that not to be true. We know that to be disproven by science, by the microscope itself. But again, a lot of people debated, a lot of people persecuted and even killed for, these beliefs that if you can't see it, well, we know that there is a whole world there based on energy, frequency, and vibration that is not seen or heard by the human eye and or ear. So what I want to do is I want to go through these concepts that will help us realize that, through technology, through our search through the universe, and the tools that we have as a species that is advancing in the roaring 20s, we will learn that we're not alone. And I always like to say, wait, watch, and witness. Anytime I do a podcast, a forecast, a prediction, you just have to wait for that timeline to kick in. And so I guess I've got a few more years here for us to have what we call full disclosure. And I've always said, if you follow my work, I said that it would not come from our government. It would not come through the media cycle. It will come through crowdsourcing. It will come through you as a people with the technology that's in your hand, your smartphone. It will be to the point where you can't deny that we are not alone based on what is being found and what is being seen. So the first one, we want to apply mathematics to this conversation because mathematics is the universal language, not English, not Spanish, not French. I know a lot of you out there might thinking that's how we're going to communicate with extra dimensional beings or a species that's much superior and farther advanced than us. And again, we are not the alpha species. In fact, I was just reading one of the professors from either Harvard or Stanford. I can't recall. I didn't write that note down. But he was talking that he is convinced that aliens are, I don't even know if I like to use the word aliens, right, in today's context, extra-dimensional beings or visitors, that they're already here on our planet. And if you think about that for a second, before I get into the Drake's equation based on mathematics, the planet is covered in 70% water. We know that from just scientific journals and studies and explorations, we've only discovered at most 15% of our entire ocean. When we look at the planet, we always see the front side of the planet, which is all most of the continents and landmass. But when you go to the back side of the planet, it's mostly water. There's millions and millions of square miles that are just miles to hide, miles to evolve, just water galore that, something could, if it wanted to exist, could. And if you go back even further, 65 million years ago, how do we know that when the dinosaurs were extinct from what we now know as a asteroid that hit the planet 65 million years ago and wiped out the dinosaurs, we don't know if some sort of species was able to survive and go deep within the planet and evolve over time. There's been a lot of theories, and I said I would talk about theories and conspiracies, that there is scientists are talking about an inner realm, an inner Earth. And with that, you have to wonder if a species could evolve and become intelligence within that environment. There's a cave in Vietnam that has its own weathering system that you can actually go explore today, that was just discovered maybe 50 years ago, even less. That tells us that there is two scenarios of both water and deep within our Earth that we have yet to learn and or discover. So that's just our planet, right? That's just the possibilities of life can evolve. Antarctica, we've done a podcast on Antarctica. The secrets of Antarctica will start to be revealed as the ice starts to melt. And this Antarctica conspiracy or history going all the way back to World War II, with Hitler's fascination for sending his troops down to Antarctica and for us to explore this continent. So there's a whole continent waiting to be explored and reveal its secrets. Hopefully good, maybe not so good. If there's new viruses that have been laid dormant in ice, that could open up new diseases and viruses, just like we saw from COVID. So there's a lot of secrets that will be revealed. So you have to go listen to that podcast we did a couple years ago on the secrets of Antarctica. But what I'm saying is, for this episode, there's just a lot of our planet we don't know. And that's why I talk as the Intuitive Prospector, to find just not only the diamond within and what you're searching for, but to look at your world with maybe a broader perspective, and to learn that there's just a lot we don't know. And Plato always, said, those that claim to know it all know nothing and know nothing at all. And so that's why I wanted to do this episode on are we alone in the universe? Or are we even alone on this planet, right? We know that there are other intelligent species on this planet. The octopus, dolphins, whales, show signs of empathy, show signs of communication, so show signs of logic. And, that in itself tells me that there's just a lot we don't understand. But if we were to talk about the Drake equation, what the purpose of it is the Drake equation is a formula that helps us to estimate the number of active, communicative extraterrestrial civilizations in our galaxy. Now, it was created and developed by astrophysicist Frank Drake back in 1961 as a way to frame the search using scientific method, using mathematics, and to set up this frame to search for what we would call alien life or extra-dimensional advanced species. Now, a couple of the key factors is the equation breaks down the search into several factors that influence the likelihood of finding alien civilizations. First, the number of stars. One of the first factors is the rate of the star formation in the galaxy, which tells us how many stars are born each year. We also know that there are stars with planets. It's considered the fraction, again, we're taking mathematics to try to measure this galaxy, this universe that has more stars and planets than all of the grains of sand on the beaches. Think about that for a second. More planets and stars than all of the grains of sand on all of the beaches around planet Earth. It's almost hard to get your mind around that. That's a lot. And so what this does is the Drake equation starts to look at the universe in a way from mathematics. It tells us the length, the width, the height, which is still not going to be accurate. Just like we thought the universe was 9 billion years old by looking back from our current technology. James Webb Telescope went into space, was developed over 10 years from our technology. We were billions of years off. We're about 13 billion years as far as expansion of the universe, looking back at the, what some would call the Big Bang. But again, it goes back to how I opened the show, and the question is, did the universe create itself, or did something create it? Some may call that God, based on written scriptures from around the world, or has it always been? And if it's always been, then that, again, it's just hard to get your mind around that. I just know that I sometimes struggle, just asking that bigger question. It's like you ask that question and we may not get the answer, but we can start to explore based on the Drake equation and try to put this into like I said, some sort of framework to understand at least the scope of the universe. Now, stars with planets, it's also considered that the fraction of those stars that have planets that are acknowledging that all stars have planetary systems. So we fall into some sort of planetary system, alignment, orbits, not just what we see here within our own galaxy. Now, habitable planets, the equation starts to look at how many of those planets could potentially support life, focusing on their distance from the star and other environmental factors. Some would call that the Goldilocks. For life to exist, it has to be not too hot, not too cold, but just right. And so we call that, planets that would be in the Goldilocks equation for not being too cold and not too hot. Now, is life developing? There is a factor of the likelihood of life developing on these habitable planets, considering the complexity and the conditions necessary for life, because all life requires certain conditions for life to expand. So that's what astrologers and astrophysicists and sciences are looking, and they try to apply the Drake equation to this model, to this framework, to help us understand, as stars with planets, the number of stars, how many of those planets could be habitable. It could be not necessarily humans, it could be life that looks somewhat. I always have said that the octopus, we know it's not from this planet because there's no other DNA. There's no cousin to the octopus on this planet. So it means it did not come from this planet, because otherwise with its DNA, it would be relatable to, something else on the planet, and it's not. So it comes from somewhere else. And if you look at an octopus, based on how many brains it has, based on its ability to problem solve and logic and even empathy, there is, it looks different than us. And that would make sense because the environment, we become what our environment dictates to us. We have gravity, therefore we have arms that are long enough for us to reach our mouths so we can feed ourselves. So it's no wonder that the octopus looks extraterrestrial, because one, it is, and two, they're never going to look like us exactly because of the conditions in which they thrive. So you start to look at the life development and the complexity and conditions necessarily for life. Now, intelligent life, based on the Drake equation, it also estimates the chances that intelligent life evolves from the simple organisms of those planets. So, there's always the debate, based on Darwinism and evolution. Did we just one day walk out of the ocean? Were we some sort of amoeba? But it is, the starting, it estimates the chances that life can evolve if those conditions are met. Now, the equation also includes the duration that civilizations are capable of communicating, meaning how long they can send signals into space. And we're going to be a little bit on the conspiracy side here, just for the fact there has been radio signals over time since we started to move into a revolution into our technology. And we're about to move into AI, which is going to be very similar to the Industrial Revolution, except it's going to be based more on our consciousness and the expansion of our knowledge of information. And so, the communication, we're sending communications, and we have been for 50 plus years, saying, hey, we're here in the universe. This is Earth. This is who we are. Voyager now has a gold record out there, both Voyagers that are out there, 70 plus years, broadcasting signals. So the Drake equation also looks at not just the intelligent life and life development, but also the communication that a civilization is capable of evolution, communicating their technology growth, and meaning that they can actually send signals out into space, just like we are doing now. But, as far as all of the final estimates of the Drake equation, and you can just go do some research and do a little prospecting for yourself to try to understand this like I have. It's by multiplying all these factors together, the Drake estimated number of civilizations that might be trying to communicate with us in our galaxy. And I'm a firm believer, as an experiencer, if you followed the show, if you have listened to former, past podcasts, I've talked about, I wasn't always a believer that I always thought maybe we were alone. And then in my Coast Guard days off the coast of Puerto Rico, which is also known as the tip of the Bermuda Triangle, which has a lot of what we once called UFOs, unidentified flying objects, which was changed to UAPs, which was called unidentified aerial phenomenon, which has yet again been changed by the Pentagon to be called unidentified anomalous phenomenon, which means it's not just aerial. It can go from sea to air to space as a transmedium vehicle. So I find just even the naming of these events very curious by nature. But in my Coast Guard days is when I experienced something if you've ever seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind that Spielberg did in '76, when I saw that as a small boy, years later in my Coast Guard days, I saw something very similar with a bunch of dancing lights off in the middle of nowhere, completely dark. This would have been at the time that Hellbop was up in the sky, full Milky Way. I could see all the stars. You could almost reach out and grab the stars because we were looking for drugs and go-fast boats. That was our mission. So we were running what's called darkened ship. And 3:00 in the morning, we had an experience on the bridge with dancing lights. That wasn't a weather anomaly. There was no drone technology at that time in '99. And we witnessed for 8 to 10 minutes something of intelligence that wasn't our technology, and you could tell was not from here. The way they moved, how gracefully they were, how fast they moved, and then just all came into one big ball of light and shot down into the water. And every time we tried to, navigate towards it, it pushed out farther. But it was almost like it knew it was putting on a show for us, and it knew that we were watching it. That's when I became a firm believer as an experiencer of something bigger than myself. And that's when I really started to research, through MUFON, through SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, and really started to be like, what did I see? And a lot of times it's going to be your own experience because we are the sum of our experiences. And maybe you've not had that experience like I'm talking about, so you're really not curious to it. But I'm telling you, when it happens, you're going to be curious and you're going to start to prospect like, what the heck did I just see? So as the Drake equation is multiplying all these factors together, it's estimating a number of civilizations, and the number is staggering, in the trillions, not billions, T with the trillions. And so we also have to start thinking about multi-dimensional constructs. Have you ever seen the movie Interstellar? I'd say I highly recommend it. It covers a lot of these concepts that we're going to be talking about today, from the Drake equation, the theory of relativity, black holes, time, and it's a very the Tesseract. If you don't know what the Tesseract is, these are all concepts that we start to get into quantum mechanics, quantum physics, multidimensional theory. And one of the theories is that our universe by itself may be nestled inside a black hole that is itself part of a larger universe. Think about that, like a bubble within a bubble within a bubble. And that all black holes found so far in our universe may be doorways into alternative or alternate realities. So that becomes dimensional philosophy, if you will. And the Drake equation, I like the approach of the Drake equation because it really starts to at least try to have a conversation, a logical conversation, based on the size of our universe, based on the number of stars, the stars with planets. Are those planets habitable? Can life develop within that Goldilocks? Can it develop within that complexity and conditions necessary for life? And from that life, can that life become intelligent, where it can actually, start broadcasting and doing very similar to what we're doing in our Roaring 20s, including the International Space Station, including sending signals out into space. And again, some of the most brilliant minds on our planet from Stanford and Harvard are already indicating that, yes, we're not alone and that they are already here. Now, there is what I like to call, again, if you follow my work, I always talk about drip, drip, drip. This slow drip, like a faucet, to where finally the faucet just gives up all of the information. And if you think about it for a second, this conversation that we're having today, this is the longest running, oldest conspiracy known to mankind. When we look up to the stars and say, are we alone in the universe? And from my experience and my soul adventures, we are not. And there's going to be a lot to be revealed. And that's going to be, for some of you, that may be uncomfortable. That may be a paradigm shift. That might be a tipping point, if you will, because our history doesn't talk so much, even from a religious construct. There are references in religions all around the world, but it's this conversation that we're having more and more. And that might, change the status quo for certain people. I find that people are so interested in aliens, but how would they expect to learn about the cultures from different planets or solar systems if we as a people can't even accept different cultures on our own damn planet, right? Of our own damn species. Think about that for a second. So that's where we're going to see some key factors of, the awareness that we're not alone and the full disclosure, which again, I am forecasting, podcasting, predicting will be revealed during this decade of Roaring Twenties and transformation. And I do believe that AI will also play a big part in that. And as our technology continues to advance every 18 months, also known as Moore's Law, it's just going to become to the point that, how did we realize that we weren't alone years ago? Because we're not. And there's going to be a lot to be revealed. Just like the microscope changed society and ways of thinking and consciousness, just like the telescope has changed ways of thinking and consciousness and belief systems, just like the James Webb. Just think of the microscope, telescope, and the technology. It's the same thing. This universe is much different, much larger than we ever imagined. Which leads to my next point. When we get to that point called Dyson Spheres and the search for Earth 2.0, after we go to our first and only break, and when we return here in just a few minutes, we're going to continue this inspiring, fascinating, mind-blowing conversation of are we alone in the universe, and are we going to discover in our early 20s that we indeed are not alone, and that there is a lot to be revealed in the years and months and days ahead. So we'll be right back.
The future of internet radio is here. Ohm Times Radio, IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Ohm Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Ohm Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on Ohm Times Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
One planet, 7.3 billion people. Only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Marc's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream. Dare to explore. Dare to live. For more information on Marc's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marclainhart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
You came across someone struggling with hunger. How would you recognize them? Would you notice an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for
summer break because she may not be having lunch again until September?
or a war veteran who's having a hard time landing a job
and getting back on his feet.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org, brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Inspired Living. Today we are going boldly where no one has gone before to talk about our universe, to talk about the galaxy, to talk about, are we alone in the universe? I love doing these shows where we can prospect for an hour, looking at different concepts, looking at history, looking at theories, looking at hypotheses, looking at conspiracies. And we were just talking about the Drake equation, which is a mathematical formula to try to frame, or at least try to get a scope of how large our universe is, not just our universe here and the Milky Way, but again, the theory of, is within a black hole a doorway to another alternate universe? And that's something that we have to consider as we explore moving from a three-dimensional construct into both fourth and fifth dimensional constructs. And one of the things that we, were talking from the Drake's equation was another concept that science has been looking at called the Dyson Spheres. And the concept of the Dyson sphere was proposed by physicist Freeman Dyson. Again, it was interesting because the Drake equation came out in '61. These Dyson spheres came out in 1960 as a theoretical structure that could capture energy from a star. So the concept is that as a species, if it meets the Drake equation, the complexity of the Goldilocks, and it can evolve from a single cell and have, not too hot, not too cold, then we know that as we move as a species, and we're seeing it in real time with our own technology and our own advancement from what we've done from the early days of the Apollo missions to the moon, to the International Space Station, to where we just had 4 astronauts go out to the farthest point in space since the Apollo missions, and of course the James Webb that is out there a million miles out in orbit looking at all aspects of the universe. And one of the things that is interesting about these Dyson spheres, again proposed by Freeman Dyson, a physicist back in 1960, was that a civilization, an advancing civilization, would take its ability to harness the energy from its own planet. Now think about what we are doing, whether it's solar technology, nuclear technology, wind technology, petrol technology. Where does all that come from? They all come at some point from the planet or from outside of our planet, right? So we as a species, us as a civilization, are learning to harness power, which is part of our industrial revolution, right? To bring in energy, to bring in the light bulb, to bring in the things that we enjoy today based on having electricity and energy to all of our different technology needs. So we are in the process of moving outside of our planet to harness the energy of our planet. So what Freeman Dyson proposed from a physicist standpoint was a Dyson sphere would actually be designed to harness a star's energy output, potentially providing vast amounts of energy for advancing civilizations. Now, I personally believe, again, this is just a personal based on my prospecting and research and in history past, is that the pyramids, and there's pyramids all over the planet, y'all. It's not just in Giza. It's not just in Egypt. There are pyramids all around the planet. I've always long thought that those are remnants of ancient civilizations using a technology we don't understand to harness power based on the structure of a three-dimensional pyramid, right? A three-sided pyramid. And if you look at the pyramids today, if you were to go back and have an actual accurate picture of what they look like, they were actually all covered in white. They weren't the color they are today, and they actually had a gold tip at the very top of especially the pyramids in Giza in Egypt. And they don't look like what they look like today, right? They look worn down, ancient, and old. And so for me, those have always been some sort of Dyson sphere, a species at that time that could harness to create, think of it like an international gas station, I guess, that these ships could land. If you ever saw the movie Stargate, I thought that was a fascinating rendition and imagination of these pyramids that could land on these like charging units here on Earth and go back and forth to harness, which one of the theories is that the Anunnaki harvested gold from our planet. And so I've always just found that interesting. Is that true? I don't know, but I know that the pyramids are true because I've seen them, and I've been to pyramids in different parts of the world. So I know that the technology and the construction of them are real, but as far as how far back they go and how they were built, still kind of scratching our head on that one. But I would classify that as a Dyson sphere because I believe it was used to harness some sort of metaphysical, energetical technology that we just don't yet understand. And as a spiritualist, we always say spirituality is what physics and modern science hasn't yet caught up to, because we're kind of ahead of the curve, if you will. But we have to go by today's standards of what science tells us, because science is never truthful to 100% because it's only telling us what we know at that time, and science is always, but it's real, it's measurable, and it's always subject to change. And so these Dyson spheres is a way to harness output, energy output. And so what Freeman was theorizing, based on using the Drake equation that came out a year later, based on the size of the universe and the amount of planets and stars and what we now call exoplanets, these spheres would include a solid shell, a swarm of satellites. He would refer to those as a Dyson swarm, or a cloud of solar collectors, also known as a Dyson bubble. Now, this was written in 1960, and so the first satellites were just starting to come into our reality, right? We think Sputnik, we think, we started to move into our exploration of space in the 1960s. And even Star Trek was written in the late 50s, and we started science fiction starts to become science fact, to where if you look at the planet today, there's over 27,000 pieces of both satellites and junk floating in our orbit right now. 27,000 estimated that's going around the planet right now. So that's a lot from 1960, right? So we would call that a swarm of satellites, also known as a Dyson swarm, or a cloud of solar collectors, which, what is on the International Space Station? Solar collectors, also known as a Dyson bubble. So the engineering challenges, building a Dyson sphere presents immense engineering challenges. Think about how they built the pyramids back then. Just immense engineering challenges. They can't fully actually put a pyramid together using today's technology, right? And some of the way these stones were cut with, hand tools, just it doesn't match. It doesn't measure up. It doesn't match up. Including, of course, material strength, including energy collection efficiency and the management of heat, right? Because when you have energy, you have to think about the laws of science, and it is going to generate heat. So the engineering challenges for building a Dyson sphere all have to come into play. Now, as far as the scalability of it, the concept can be scaled to suit the energy needs of the civilization, but from smaller constructs from around individual stars to massive constructs around the galaxy. So the theory is that if a species can advance, and it can become an intelligent species, and it can move through the evolution of its technology, it will start to do exactly what we're doing. Satellites, International Space Station. If you watch the recent history with what SpaceX just did, launching Starship up, which again, this thing is 23 stories high, and then having the return rocket be caught on chopsticks and reusable technology. And that's the key to our space exploration, is reusable, lowering costs to where we will be going to the moon in the next two years, I believe, the Artemis mission. There's also going to be the first space hotel, if you will, for tourists, 2027. And of course, moving to Mars, which is a big concept. Get to the moon, get to Mars. And we're seeing that. We're actually seeing these engineering challenges and the scalability come into our reality. And so Freeman Dyson theorized that if we have the ability at some point in the future to look out at the universe and see these Dyson spheres, that would tell us that there is an advanced technology, an advanced species that has harnessed the power of their planet. And I'll let you in on a little secret. That's what that drip, drip, drip I was talking about. I believe NASA already is aware. I believe our government is already aware, the Pentagon, the powers that be, that they have seen a Dyson sphere with the James Webb Telescope. Now, NASA did come out and say that they could find evidence of advanced technology. That doesn't mean we can get to them based on our current technology, but wouldn't that be a game changer to actually look out in the universe and the James Webb, which I think has already taken place and it will come to light eventually, that we have seen a planet that is advanced. It's built this technology or this Dyson Sphere. So that tells us that, one, we're not alone in the universe and that there is other intelligence out there. And that changes everything down here, hopefully, on our planet, because our planet definitely needs a change in where we're going as far as how we live together on this planet, how we treat our planet. And I've always called this the great coming together, that there would be some sort of catalyst or trigger within society, within consciousness that brings us kind of to that Star Trek moment, Star Wars moment, that the universe and we as a people are much bigger and better together, more united to explore, why we're here. Because again, the three aspects of the universe: was it created by someone? Has it always been here? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but it's mind blowing, right? It just, or did something create it? Did another species far superior and advanced than us create this? I guess we'll just have to find out and wait and watch and witness. But as the Drake equation, tells us, it baffles me that if it was created by a omnipotent creator that would create this entire galaxy, and that his, quote unquote chosen children would inhabit, I'm going to break this code, just kind of give you the mathematics of this. 0.000000000000015%. That was 20 zeros, by the way, of its area for only 0.00004% of its history, right? That just it just baffles me, right? And I think we're going to have some mindfulness and evolution through AI of our consciousness that just doesn't make sense. So, food for thought. That's why we do these episodes, to get you thinking outside the box, to think, a better, broader perspective. Doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean I'm wrong, but what I love to do with my shows is bring it together like a smorgasbord, a buffet of information, of diamonds, of gems, and you pick and choose what you resonate with. Maybe you haven't had an experience like I have, and that's fine. But I can lay it out, and you can pick and choose just like a buffet. Do you want the mashed potatoes? Do you want the cream corn? Do you want the bread pudding? Do you want the chocolate cake? You can pick and choose, and that's why I think it's important to have these conversations of consciousness, of transparency, and even conspiracy. Because I do think, back in the day when I had my experience, we talked about wearing this tin-foiled hat. And as we move into, this drip, drip, drip of revealing, maybe the tinfoil hat won't be needed in the years ahead, because we'll be like, why were you wearing a tinfoil hat? So as we continue with the Dyson Spheres, we're going to get into our search for Earth 2.0. Now, again, there's some astrobiological implications with a Dyson Sphere, because the existence of a Dyson Sphere around a star might be detectable by observing unusual energy patterns, leading to the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And that's what I believe is what that drip, drip, drip of what our government and what the NASA agency and even SpaceX already know. They've detected some sort of Dyson Sphere way out, but we necessarily won't be able to get to it within, within my lifetime, perhaps. Perhaps we will. Maybe there'll be a reveal of, wormholes. I mean, we're not even talking about Einstein, Rosenbridge wormholes and the theory of relativity and black holes and bending space and time. That's a whole nother mind-blowing conversation. But I want to keep up with the Dyson Spheres, breaking it down into these sections as we move into Earth 2.0, because the technology advancements, the creation of a Dyson Sphere would require advanced technologies far beyond our current capacities, including breakthroughs in materials, in science, in energy, in management of that energy, again, harnessing that energy. And again, there's going to be some technology advancements that will allow us to understand our universe, especially with the assistance of artificial intelligence that is here and that is currently rolling out. Now, there are some limitations with the Dyson Sphere. It could face limitations such as the availability of materials. You think about the International Space Station. We couldn't have the space station as it is now without the materials that we've created over time through the Industrial Revolution, right? And so, these advanced technologies create limitations based on the availability of materials, the science, the lifespan of the star, the lifespan of the materials, and the challenges of maintaining a structure over time. So those are some of the limitations for a Dyson Sphere. Now, Dyson Sphere, over in my research, have become very popular topic in both science fiction and influence in various works and inspiring discussions about the future of energy and civilizations by harnessing the power of the planet, which we are having conversations right now. And I imagine, 200 years in the future, we'll probably have some sort of big ring around the planet for not just, the gateway to space, but also to harness that energy and the advancements of, quantum physics, quantum mechanics, quantum computing, if you will. But as far as, while intriguing, the Dyson Sphere does remain a speculative concept, serving as a thought of an experiment for the potential of future or energy consumption and the technology advancements of a species. But something in my, and I've been doing this for a while, but something in my spidey senses is telling me that the James Webb has picked up something, and it just hasn't been revealed yet. And I'm seeing a lot through crowdsourcing, again, not so much through the government or the national media news cycles, but more with people that are actually following this. They call them internet sleuths, that are following different channels through social media, YouTube, TikTok, all of those that are following and sharing this information, which we call crowdsourcing. So that leads me to my final concept for today. And I hope you're enjoying the episode. Again, I love doing these shows because it's just fascinating, when it comes to life. And I always said life's an acronym, learn it from experience. So as we move into the search for Earth 2.0, there is a planet out there right now that has already been, coded K218b. That's B as in boy and K as in kilo. K218b. It's 3 times the size of the Earth, and it has been seen, and it is theorized that it does hold life. Now, again, getting there, it's not as far as I thought it would be, but getting there right now for us would be a challenge. It just right now, it currently takes us 6 months with the timing of trajectory just to get to Mars within itself, right? That's 6 months. So this planet, this 2.0, is really expanding our search using the Drake equation, using the Dyson Spheres for these what we call exoplanets, and the search for Earth, what we would call 2.0. So, and what an exoplanet is, it's the term used for any planet outside of our solar system. And the first of them was discovered right after I got out of high school, 1992. I actually graduated in 1991. And so this is where the science started changing, because our technology was changing and our idea of the universe was changing. And it was actually not just one planet, but it was 2, called Phobetter and Poltergeist, were the 2 exoplanets. And these sibling spheres rocked the world of astronomy when they found that they were orbiting a pulsar in the constellation Virgo, some 2,300 light years away from our blue marble, this blue spot. Carl Sagan always talked about the blue dot, right? If you've ever followed that. And so what has happened is astronomers have now confirmed since 1992, the existence of thousands of exoplanets. As of June 18th, the count is up to 6,140. Now, if we apply the Drake's equation to that, we know that number is going to change drastically as we expand our technology out, as we explore the universe. That is going to completely change those numbers. But again, from 1992, we've gone from 2, Phobetter and Poltergeist, to now 6,100 exoplanets that we have now discovered and have confirmed with our technology and our science. Now, many of the exoplanets confirmed so far are comparable to worlds within our own solar system, not terribly unlike Neptune or Jupiter or Venus, but some are a little weird too. Some of them are, straight out of a Star Trek or Star Wars episode. They've looked at some of these exoplanets using the Hubble Space Telescope. Before James Webb and Kepler, there was the Hubble Space Telescope, and there is created a situation where reality is actually a little bit more strange than the actual fictional predictions that we have talked about, right? They've discovered planets that are completely full of oceans, where deep waters cover every inch of the land. If you ever saw the movie Interstellar, they go through a dimensional wormhole, if you will, or a black hole, which takes them into a different dimension, and they set down on this planet called Miller's Planet, and the planet is completely water, but you can walk around in about 4 to 5 feet. It's only about 4 to 5 feet deep, but then there's this huge 100-foot wave that comes towards them, and they have to get off the planet. But for every minute they're down on the planet, for every hour they're on the planet, 10 years passes on Earth time, right? The theory of relativity. So it's this, you have this moral conversation and this conundrum that, when they sit down on this planet, his daughter, the actor's daughter is back on Earth. She is aging rapidly for the amount of time he's on the planet. So it's kind of one of those mind-blowing things. But, they've discovered planets full of water. They've also found an exoplanet called Kepler 78b, as in Bravo, that is completely covered by oceans of lava. Think about that for a second. Oceans of lava, planets of water, planets of lava. Then there's WASP 121b, that's WASP-121b as in Bravo, where weather conditions literally cause rubies and sapphires to rain down lavishly from the skies. It's raining cats and dogs, we always say here on Earth, so why can't it rain sapphires and rubies, right? So this is just some of the science that we know right now. Now, they found tidal-locked planets where, with one half is always blistering under the stars and the heat, and the other half is actually half freezing and in darkness, so half light, half dark, right? So they found at least 2 planets that are not even spherical, but they're actually egg-shaped. Since they orbit their host is as a star so closely that the gravitational pull actually creates not a spherical shape, but an oval shape. So not all planets are round. Now I haven't found any evidence that the Earth is flat. That would be really weird to look out and see reflection of all of our planets being round, and all Earth is just a flat planet. That would tell me that we're living in some sort of reality that is a virtual reality because everything, our planet doesn't look like our universe. And again, as we look out, but we have found planets that are egg-shaped. So astronomers estimate that the Milky Way alone holds 100. The Milky Way alone, that's just, again, we're thinking one-dimensional construct here. The Milky Way alone holds 100 to 200 billion exoplanets. Again, bring the Drake equation in, bring the Dyson Spheres in. And if you're talking about the whole universe, that number grows to a size we can't even really estimate today. With hundreds of billions of galaxies, the universe is filled with trillions of stars. Astronomers are excited as our technology grows. And again, with like I said, with everything being with the right proximity to a star, the size, the mass, the elemental composition, the potential atmosphere, water cycles, could all work together to sustain some sort of life. So Earth 2.0 becomes a much more reality. It's just, can we get there? Can we evolve with our technology to find ways to get to these other locations? Right now, there is an Earth-like exoplanet called Gliese 667, big C, little c, C as in Charlie, and it lies just 22 light years away from us, and it has years that last a mere 28 Earth days. So again, our time is based on how many, the cycles of our rotation going around the orbit of the sun, right? But this one is a mere 28 days is 1 year. So, but again, it falls within that Goldilocks zone that I was talking about. And it's within striking distance of stars' flares, but it could make it far less or not at all life friendly. Because of it doesn't meet all of the Goldilocks concepts to sustain life. So it's interesting. Another potential Earth-like exoplanet is called the Kepler 22b, and that one is 640 light years away, and it's got a 200-day year. And it's not far off from Earth's 365 as it orbits what's called a G-class star-like ours. But Kepler star is considerably cooler and smaller than the one at the center of our solar system, which may turn it may turn a cold shoulder to life, is what we're saying, because it doesn't fall within that full Goldilocks. But we know that life can exist and grow at very extreme temperatures, both hot and cold, deep down in the ocean, in Antarctica. So again, it's going to be interesting as we move forward to understand our place in the universe. So again, I come back to, as I open the show, are we alone in the universe? With the technology and what we're seeing, the Drake equation, the Dyson Spheres, exoplanets, and our current search for Earth 2.0, I think, that us as humans are not unique, and I don't believe that we are alone in this vast universe. And again, as the question was summed up by the famous Drake equation, has been one of the most controversially and uncertain science in a half century may change soon through our roaring 20s of transformation. And again, we have to ask ourselves, rather than asking how many civilizations may exist now, we have to ask ourselves, are we truly the only technological species that has ever arisen in a galaxy that's unmathematically incomprehensible to current understandings? And, I guess we're going to have to wait, watch, and witness, and to boldly go where no one has gone before, as Star Trek always reminds us. But I hope you enjoy today's conversation. Again, our search for Earth 2.0, Dyson Spheres, and the Drake equation, because I believe these are tools that we can put into our spiritual awakening conscious toolbox to help us understand our place in the universe, to understand ourselves as a species, and our place on this planet as we move forward. I know there's a lot of things going on our planet right now, but again, in order to get to that peace and that enlightenment, it's usually preceded by great chaos. And so I hope you enjoyed the show today, and I look forward to hanging out with you again and prospecting on these wonderful topics of exploration and discovering the diamond within and the many hidden gems all around us. So until our next soul adventure together, be kind, be caring, be compassionate, and most importantly, dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live, and discover that diamond within. We'll see you next time here on Inspired Living. Take care, everybody.